Hello students, and this is Mr. Joseph Reddy, the Faculty of English. 10th, we are about to discuss Unit 5, Reading B, the Storeyed House 2. So first part we have seen in the previous video, and now we are about to look into the details of the Storeyed House Part 2. And now here, if you just look at this particular part, the Storeyed House 2, it is a continuation from the Storeyed House Part 1. And here, if you just look at, Bayaji had planned to build a storied house, and this particular person started the inauguration on New Year Day. And then what happened? Did he really build the house? And then after building, what happened? Was he successful? Or did these people, the upper class people in the village, did they really object? Or no, was he successful? All those things, the details, we would really see in this particular lesson. The news that Bayaji was building a storied house spread like fire. And now here, if anything is happening, especially in the villages, people will know in fraction of seconds. And then that's what here also, all the people, they came to know that Bayaji was building a storied house. And here in that particular village, there was only one storied house in the village that belonged to Kondiba Patil, representative of high caste people. And this Kondiba Patil was a high caste person, and he alone had that storied house. And in the village, all the remaining people, they only had an ordinary house. And this person alone had the storied house. And now here, the news of Bayaji's building a storied house was too much for Kondiba to bear. See, anytime if an opponent is there to us, and if he is going to be equally competent to us, we always feel jealous of them, or you always don't really accept that. So here, Kondiba also did not really want to bear that an untouchable, lower his rank, is about to build a storied house. And in his opinion, in the opinion of Kondiba Patil, an untouchable creature should not think of building a storied house. Now, in his opinion, the untouchable should not build a storied house, and he should not go on equal rank with high class person or a high caste person. So that is what he had an opinion and idea that the untouchable Bayaji should not build a storied house. And then the construction of Bayaji's storied house progressed with speed. And then the construction started. Bayaji's storied house progressed with much speed, and then it was going on. One day, Kondiba Patil warned him that he shouldn't lose his head simply because he had set aside some money. One day, Kondiba Patil and Bayaji came face to face with each other, and then Kondiba Patil simply warned him, since you simply set apart some money, you shouldn't lose your head, you shouldn't lose control of yourself, and you should know your position and then behave according to that, because since you set some money aside, you should not claim an equal rank with the upper caste people. So that's what he warned him. And then after that, what happened? He also warned Bayaji not to aspire to an equal status with them by building the house. So he also warned him, saying that you should not claim an equal position or equal rank with the upper class people. So he gave him enough and more warning so that he shouldn't be in equivalent to those people. So now what has happened? Really, did Bayaji accept that, or did he ignore and go ahead with the decision? So what did he do? Here he suggested that Bayaji could have a small 3 convenient portioned house, and that's what he has suggested him. So if you want, you can go with a 3 portioned conventional house, so that you all people can live comfortably. So he only wanted to live comfortably. So you can make a 3 convenient portioned house, so that even in that particular house also you can live conveniently. He again warned Bayaji that he would be thrown out of the village if he went in for a storied house. So now immediately he gave him a warning, saying that if at all, if you ignore my warning and if you go for building a storied house, even if you build it, we will be expelling you from the village. We will exile you from the village, and we won't allow you into the village, and you would have to stay out. So thus, I warn you not to build a storied house. So that's what he gave him. He warned him that you would be thrown out of the village, and if you build the story house, then we won't allow you into the village. So that's what he gave, a very strong warning. After that, what did Bayaji do? Bayaji had to abandon plans for the storied house out of fear. So now at that time when he really threatened him, so he just really warned him. Bayaji knew that they were the known rascals of the village, so he did not want to really go against them. So he just abandoned, he left out the plans to build a storied house because he was afraid, so he did not want to build the storied house. He took up the conventional 3-portioned house. Now as he gave suggestion here, advice here, to go with a convenient 3-portioned house, he just wanted to go with the same plan, so that will be acceptable to this person, Kundipa Patil and all his followers. And then work was resumed and the walls rose rapidly, and the work was restarted, and then it went on with full speed. It gained momentum, and the walls rose very rapidly. The middle portion was a little elevated, and a small first story fixed up there with a wooden flooring. Now here the middle portion, whatever was there in the middle of the house, was a little elevated one, and a small first story fixed up there with a wooden flooring. With a wooden flooring, there was also a raised, unappearing first floor also. So here, this part could be reached by stairs rising from the kitchen. So now here, this particular wooden elevated platform, elevated wooden flooring would be seen or would be reached by stairs from the kitchen. Now, no one could guess from the outside that there was a first story to the house. And you know, anyone who looks at that particular one, no one could guess really that there was a first floor, there would be a second one more there, except the 3 conventional portioned house. So in this way, people were very, very aware that there was only an ordinary house, but only the people, those who really come inside and those who observe, only can see that there was another one more elevated platform or portion in the house. And after the completion of the housewarming ceremony was planned. You know, generally we have so many housewarming ceremonies, right? Gruha Pravesh, you say, Gruha Pravesham, you say. So then so many other plans are there. Whenever we construct a new house, we renovate and start making something new, we start with a housewarming ceremony, so that we will know and we invite all the people to take part in our happiness. So that's what he also had planned, a housewarming ceremony in his house. And then what happened? Their relatives were invited and the village elders were invited to the ceremonial Pan Supari. So here the function was called as Pan Supari, and then he invited the relatives, he invited the elders of the village to just take part or participate in the ceremonial Pan Supari. And then what happened? A fine pandal was put up in front of the house, and as you know, if any function is there, what we do is we just elevate one pandal, and then nowadays we have tents. Those days they really did not have tents. They used to put one fine pandal with the leaves and all the other things, with sticks, leaves and so on. It used to be very big, and then here also a fine pandal was put up and nice arrangements were made. All his children, all Bayaji's children, they really worked 4-5 full days only on the arrangements. And because of all their hard work and hard struggle, a fine arrangements took place in the particular place. And then everything was looked after by his children, and Bayaji was only convening or organizing all those things. And then famous devotional singers came with their troops. And here he invited certain people to make them participate in the devotional program in the house. So there were some ritual ceremonies in order to sing in that, in order to make them to take part in all these rituals. He just invited certain famous devotional singers, and they came along with their troops. Kundiba Patil, along with 4 or 5 seasoned rascals, arrived. So now, as I already told you, the village elders also were invited for the housewarming ceremony, for the ceremony. Here, Kundiba Patil, along with 4 or 5 seasoned rascals arrived. What do you mean by the seasoned rascals? Means when the right time is there to do something, they gather. If not, they won't come together. So that's what called seasoned rascals. Only when there is one particular thing to be done. It is not seasoned rascals, means not as per the season, not rainy season, summer season, all those things. Not that. So here seasoned rascals means only when there is really something to be done, some mischief to be done. So these people come together. So that is what, along with these 4 or 5 seasoned rascals, Kundiba Patil also arrived. They felt uneasy at the sight of the brand new house, the pandal, and the crowd of smiling faces. They saw 3 important things here in the house. First one is a brand new house. It was looking very, very beautiful, very, very good. Second was the pandal, the arrangements. Here pandal means the arrangements, all the arrangements that they have done. First one is brand new house. Second one was the arrangements, the pandal and all the remaining other arrangements. And the third one was the crowd of smiling faces. There were so many happy people there. Everywhere there was happiness in the people. So these 3 things were undigestible for these upper class people. And then Bayaji took them up the stairs in the kitchen. So now, as we already discussed, so there was an elevated wooden flooring inside, which where there were steps from the kitchen. So he took those people to that particular place. And then here, once they went there, they could see the walls were radiant with paint. They were shining. Radiant is shining here. So they were so shining with the paint. See, generally when you paint a new house, you see the paints all shining. And then you can see the shining of that particular house. They just reflect the light and everything. You can see a kind of new look and atmosphere. So here also they could see the same. The pictures of great men like Lord Buddha, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Bhaurao Patil, Jyotiba Phule, and others hung on the walls. So all the great people's pictures, photos were hung there on the walls as a mark of respect. Simply to talk about that elevated platform was mostly, maybe it might be used as a prayer room or something else, because here you see all the great people's photos were there only in that particular place, so that they gave a separate place for that. So that might have been the reason, or that might have been the intention of Bayaji. So here he took them there to that particular place, and then he showed them. They were all very bright or very radiant with paint. And next, Patil and his followers sat on the rough woolen carpet spread by Bayaji. So when they went there, so Patil and his followers sat on the rough woolen carpet which was spread there, and they just were there in the house. And next, when Bayaji offered them the customary betel leaves, Patil accepted them but gave them back. And here, when Bayaji gave him betel leaves, then he took it, he accepted it, but he did not eat. Then when Bayaji asked him, so is there any rule or custom that compulsorily that we have to take and eat? Then he simply laughed, and then they left that matter there. Then thereby what happened, we will see now. Here, as we continue the lesson, there was something fishy that was going to happen further. They looked at each other and left the place very furiously, intending to harm him. So now, after looking everything, when everything was over, when they were about to leave, they looked at each other and they eyed each other and left the place very furiously, very angrily, and their intention behind that particular looks was to harm him, to do something to this particular person called Bayaji. Their eyes seemed that they determined to teach the untouchable a lesson. That particular looks are not simply looks, are not just simply a kind of a symbol, but here they really wanted to bring the downfall, or they wanted to teach a lesson to this untouchable creature, Bayaji. So that's what they had their intention. And now, devotional songs were sung in praise of Dr. Ambedkar and Lord Buddha. So as I already told you, the famous devotional singers were called, along with their troops. They started singing all the devotional songs, and then they were singing the devotional songs in praise of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and Lord Buddha. So that's what they were singing the songs. And then, as the program gathered momentum, people moved their heads in appreciation. As you know, when you go to devotional programs, or when there are certain meetings, prayer meetings or whatever it may be, so what we do is we sway our heads in devotion, or you just keep doing like this. So you just get involved in that particular program in a proper way. So that's what here, these people also were completely immersed, and then they were completely involved in this particular program, and they were swaying their heads, they were moving their heads as a mark of appreciation, as a mark of devotion. So this is what was happening there in that particular program. And then the undreamt of incident took place. Now undreamt of means unimaginable. They not even thought of that this will happen. So then what is that incident? What happened? Now we will observe the continuation. Now here, Bayaji's new house had caught fire from all sides and flared up. And then, so the Bayaji's new house suddenly caught fire from all the sides. Generally, if fire catches, maybe from one side it has to catch. But the fire caught up from all the sides. And this shows very clearly that that was intentional. That was not accidental. That was intentional. These people intentionally did that. Right. Now here, the woman screamed in confusion. People, since it was all fire and the flames, and because of the smoke and everything, people, especially the woman, screamed in confusion. They were shouting at the top of their voices. Bayaji was frantic, unable to understand, in a confused, situation. Here, he ran around crying, my house, my storied house. So he started running around everywhere, Bayaji, crying, shouting, my house, my storied house, and so on he was telling. And then he shouted that his enemy had taken revenge on him. He said, my enemy had revenge on me, he had taken revenge on me, and so on. He started shouting. He climbed up, pulled the picture and hurled them down. So he climbed up, as I already told you, there was an elevated platform. He kept all the pictures of all the great people, Lord Buddha, and then Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Jyotiba Phule. So all these pictures were kept. So he just took all the pictures and hurled it down. Means simply threw so that they won't get burnt. So he did that. Then what happened? Suddenly, the staircase was collapsed and Bayaji was completely surrounded by flames. As I already told you, the staircase was made with wood, and because of the fire, maybe it might have got burnt, And then as he just hurled down this particular pictures, so as he wanted to come down, suddenly the staircase collapsed and Bayaji was completely surrounded by flames. So in this way it had happened. Then afterwards, was he saved or not, we will just see now. The upper story came down with a crash along with Bayaji. As we were continuing, he went inside to get all the pictures, he hurled it down, and then as he was about to come out, the wooden flooring all fell down and the upper story came down with a crash along with Bayaji to the ground. Until that time, there was no one who would really dare to go inside and bring Bayaji out. But once it fell down, so he was on the ground, people, they dared at last, and then they went in and then pulled Bayaji out. And then he was burnt all over because already he was there completely struck in the fire and he was unable to come out until the entire wood was burnt and then fell down. So he almost got 3rd-degree burns, and all his body was almost burnt around. So he frequently started shouting for water. So however water he drank, his thirst was not quenched. So the situation was still there, and then though he was there, but still his mind on his house, whatever the things that were done was not completely done. So he was still wailing, still he was shouting in pain, in agony, my house, and so on. He was in great pain. See here, all the lifelong effort, whatever he put, whatever the sacrifices that he did, and whatever the money he gathered in order to stay in his house, in order to live the remaining life peacefully, have all gone as ash. So thus, in that way, he had a very great pain, and then he expressed his last wish. At last, the children understood that he was about to die, because he was no more, had hopes that he would be alive. So all his children gathered around and then asked him, especially his eldest son asked him, what is your last wish? He expressed his last wish that his son should build a storied house. Here, he gave a command like one his last wish. You should build a storied house. He did not say, if it is possible, you build it. If it is not possible, you leave it. Nothing of that sort. He said, you should build a storied house. So he gave a command. And thus, after that, he passed away. His mother wept very bitterly, because a son is supposed to take care of the rituals of his parents. Rather, mother is taking part the ritual or the funeral ceremony of the son. So thus, she was very, very sad. She wept very bitterly. She was mad with grief. No one could comfort her and her grief and her sadness. So that she was mad with grief. So no one could comfort her. Nothing could comfort her. Thus, Bayaji's wife was sobbing her heart out. So she was also weeping, sobbing very greatly, because she had been for years together as a mate, as a wife, and then now she had lost a very great person, a great companion for herself. So thus she was weeping and crying a lot. The entire family was shocked by the great disaster. All the people, those who were there, they really were shocked, and everyone was in utter sadness and dismay. And then, as this was in this way, the next day, the next morning, the village officers reported that Bayaji's death was the result of an accident due to a Petromax flare-up. Now here, the next morning, the officials, the village officials came and wanted to find out the result or reason for what the accident took place. So they just went around, surveyed everything, and then they simply wrote Bayaji's death was an accident. An accident due to a Petromax flare-up. Now in the lesson, very clearly given, there were 4 Petromax lights, and then even if they flare up, only from 4 sides it had to get fire. But you know, it is given from all the sides the fire caught. That does mean that is not an accident, that was intentionally done. So, but here these people, they have simply written it as an accident due to Petromax flare-up. So that was the conclusion. And here, Bayaji was in ashes instead of enjoying the comforts of a retired life. Now he came to the village after his retirement to enjoy his retired life, to spend with the family and to spend with his children in his last days. And now Bayaji, who wanted to enjoy his retired life, was in ashes and he is no more available to the members of the family. The eldest person in the family who is supposed to look after the head of the family is no more and he is lying in ashes. After the funeral, people returned hanging their heads. Generally, when we are sad, we just hang our head down. So now all people, they felt very sad and then they returned hanging their heads. They were all sorrowful. They were really very, very sad and they were very sorrowful. Then it happened. What happened? Means all people gathered there. They all were just there in the house and they were just planning how to continue the further things. And then it happened, something happened there. So what is that? Bayaji's children, especially the eldest son and all the remaining children, started digging the foundation of a 2-storied house to fulfill their father's last wish. There are some sad days and that has to get over, and then only the people start any auspicious occasion or auspicious things. But here, soon after they completed their funeral ceremony, they came back, they gathered in the house and all the children started digging foundation for the 2-storied house, not simply an ordinary house or 3-portioned house or something else. So it was for the 2-storied house. That was his last wish. Whose last wish it was? Bayaji's last wish. So they very strongly decided that they wanted to build a storied house, not an ordinary conventional 3-portioned house. Now here, they said that their father's soul could not rest in peace unless they did that. Now they said, when the relatives asked, these are all the sad days and why you want to do all these things. In the sad days you should not do, there's an auspicious day for that. You have to wait for some time. When they said, they simply said, our father's soul will not rest, will not have eternal rest, eternal peace until we fulfill, until we accomplish the wish that whatever he had done for the last. Next. Here, if you look at the entire the storied house, here Howell, the writer, portrays the importance of Dalit empowerment in India. So here, the last minute, in the last lines, we see that these people are very strongly decided. So here, that particular incident shows that Dalit empowerment is required in India so that all the upper caste people having their own oppression on the untouchables or lower class will not be there. So that is what he really portrays or emphasizes, stresses upon the importance of Dalit empowerment in India. He frantically brings out the emotional element of a housewarming ceremony function being turned into a funeral. Now here he just wanted to bring out how, or he wanted to show to the people, because of this upper class domination, a housewarming ceremony which is supposed to take place, which is supposed to be a matter of joy and happiness, has turned into a funeral, a matter of sadness. just because of the domination of the upper class over the lower class. So that's what he just wanted to bring to the concern of the readers. And the next now we just speak about the author. The author, Vaman Govind Havel, he was born in the year 1938 and he is a well-known Marathi writer for his concern for Dalits who are the victims of social injustice. These people, the Dalits, the untouchables, the low caste people, they are the victims of the social injustice, and the Storeyed House is an example for such kind of incident. And thus Vaman Govind Havel, he is very much concerned for the Dalits and their empowerment. He is known for his rustic style, crispy dialogues and tongue-in-cheek humor that often startles the readers. Now here, he not only presents the serious things, he also brings out a kind of humor and a connective humor whereby the readers also enjoy. Now here, that is what is the special style of Vaman Govind Havel. And then here if you speak about Elcott, which was written in 1982, and then Warasdar in the year 1986, okay, are his collections of short stories. So there are some of the examples for his great writing style. And then Havel's short story, The Storeyed House, is a powerful symbol of Dalit awakening in India. So this particular lesson or this particular short story, The Storeyed House, is a kind of example, is a kind of powerful symbol of Dalit awakening, Dalit empowerment in India. So this is all about the Storeyed House. Now let us proceed to glossary.